Yes, it is May 1st. And of course, we are talking some football here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead. Let's get this going. We are going to be participating in a new underdog draft today. This just dropped. It's the mini schnauzer. Hopefully we said that correctly. I'm sure we did. But it is a $3 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool, 20 max tournament. So I know a lot of people like the fact that it's maxed out, so it's a little bit slower to fill, yada, yada, yada. Even with it being capped. I mean, this just started a few hours ago, and they're already well over 5,000 entrants. You can just see that number going up. Going down, this is 10,000 for first, 7,000 for second, 6,000 for third, 5,000 for fourth, 4,000 for fifth, 3,000 for the third. It's a $3 buy-in, 37,000 participants. Let's go ahead and let's get this going, ladies and gentlemen. And dear God, did I forget to give them our location? Oh, this is brutal. Just in case you don't know, Underdog, obviously all regulated. So you have to give them your location. Here are the states where Underdog is available in. And I live in Texas. So if my computer can recognize, yes, I am in Texas, should let us in this bad boy. And we just gave them our location. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Now, sorry if you tried getting in the draft with us and I messed it up. I apologize, but we are now filled, and let's see where we are picking. Okay, we're at 12. I think this is the first time that we have selected at 12 since Best Ball Mania dropped. I mean, I think our first draft that we had yesterday, we were at 3. I'm sorry, 2 days ago, we were at 3. We got CeeDee Lamb. I think the draft that we were at yesterday, we had pick 7. So happy to see y'all out here as always. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And Matthew, see you in here at pick 3, my friend, always out here drafting with us. We got Beardster in here at 5. Good luck. Drew in here at 8. MD in here at 4. And yeah, if you're having location problems, it's just a computer thing. Like I said, Underdog obviously is fully regulated. So it's not available in Washington, Nevada, Michigan, Louisiana, Hawaii. Available pretty much everywhere else. So they have to make sure that you are in one of those states when you go to enter. So essentially you just have to have your location on. Trenton in here at 11. Caleb in here at 10. Okay, so thank you for letting us know, guys, because now we know that we can't really say the player that we are going to want to fall to us if we are 2-3 picks out. We're going to have to keep our lips sealed. What's nice is we'll have back-to-back picks. So whenever we are on the clock, I can give you my raw, unfiltered opinion. But yeah, obviously we're not going to be able to say anything when pick 10 is on the clock. Pick 11 is on the clock. Ty says, is Underdog available in Canada? It's available in Canada everywhere outside of Ontario. So if you're on Ontario, which I think half people in Canada are, I don't know, I'm an idiot. But I believe it's not everywhere else it should be. Cito says, looks like Rashee Rice will be suspended for half a season. Is he undraftable? Oh, no, obviously he's still draftable. Let me go ahead and let me pull up the most recent Rashee Rice news that we have, because I'm going to be completely honest with you, I did not see that. Now, the first 5 picks, really standard here. You have CMC, Lamb, Chase, Tyreek, Jefferson, Bijan, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Really, there aren't any surprises. AJ Brown goes at 8. That's a little bit earlier than where we've seen Brown. I mean, honestly, not too big of a surprise. But let me pull up what we have with Rashee Rice. Yeah, report the Chiefs are expecting Rashee Rice to be suspended for at least half the season. Okay, we'll talk about that one second. We're on the clock. I am not going to be taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I think we're going to be staying balanced. I would have loved to have Jahmyr Gibbs make it to us. We're going to be going with Garrett Wilson and then either Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor. Not considering Harrison, not considering London, not considering Kyron, not considering Achane. Really, I think it just comes down to these two guys. Let me pull up flogfantasy.com and get a sense of where we have these players ranked and if I can help myself out here, because it's so much harder to think when you're actually live streaming, rambling, where when we made the rankings on flogfantasy.com, we were able to sit down and think for a decent amount of time. And yeah, we do have Saquon Barkley ranked higher on the site currently. Actually, no. God dang. I have no idea. Can y'all spam the chat? What are y'all going to do going into the future? Are you going to go Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor? Both running backs are going to be dealing with rushing QBs. That should boost the efficiency of the overall rushing offenses they play in, while at the same time maybe limiting the amount of target volume that they're going to see out of the backfield and possibly seeing some vulture touchdowns for both Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson. But it's a toss-up. JT, Saquon, JT, Saquon. So it is a little bit split. Yeah, honestly, I mean, you can say that Saquon's the better offense between the two. Typically, I want to be going with the younger running back. I don't know. Tough spot. But Derek, happy to see you, my friend. Hope that you've had a great offseason. Thank you for sticking with us. Happy to see you, my guy. Jose says, are we going to do a Best Ball Mania draft today? If we hit 300 likes, we will do another draft on this stream. I think that's going to be our mark. Colin says, where do you think Harrison should be going? I can pull up exactly where we have him ranked on the site for you, my friends. Let's pull up wide receivers. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. ranked as my wide receiver 9. And if you're looking at my overall rankings, Harrison currently is 16 for me. So I think Harrison becomes appealing in the middle of the second round. I'm just not going to be taking him at the 1-2 turn. Okay. Now let's move this around. HN goes 21. So I am interested to continue to monitor where the Houston receivers are going to go. Diggs, Nico, Tank Dell, obviously all these players have competition, but at the same time, they're in phenomenal offenses. I mean, we dropped our wide receiver rankings today. I have Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 1 out of the group, but interested to see where y'all have him. And let's move this over. And yes, fantasy is back, Chris. And I will be streaming pretty much every single day until the season starts. We have a vacation scheduled in June, but outside of that, we will be live streaming. We will be drafting on Underdog. And I'm sure you've heard me say it a million times. Here's 1,000,001 times. Somehow you don't know what Underdog is. They're best ball drafts, so there's no time commitment at all during the year. It's how I draft hundreds of teams on Underdog every offseason. Obviously, we're not having to manage those teams during the year. Yeah, we won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. Last year, we weren't smart enough to draft Puka or Kyron, so we did not win any tournaments. But if you want to draft with us on Underdog or just get in the public lobby yourself, you can find the link in the description in the comment section. Code FLOCK will get hooked up with 100% of your deposit matched, plus access to flockfantasy.com. Plus, you'll be getting hooked up with a special NBA pick'em for whatever night you sign up. I believe tonight or tomorrow, whenever the Mavs play, the next special pick'em is going to be Luka Doncic, more than less than half a total point. It's just going to depend on what day you sign up with code FLOCK, what special you're getting. Pretty much whatever the NBA game is. Okay. LeBron says, bro's always yapping about Puka and Kyron. It's because two things here with Puka and Kyron, my friend. One, they were the best example of a league winner you could ever see. They're both top 5 of their individual positions going in the last round of fantasy drafts and in your casual redraft leagues going undrafted. So one, they're the biggest storylines from last season. And two, it's because I was not smart enough to draft them. So of course I have to remind you every chance I get. But Derrick Henry off the board 31. I think we said this in the live stream yesterday, but if you look at my rankings, Derrick Henry is someone that I currently have ranked pretty much as undraftable. I am not taking Henry at all. And oh yeah, let me show y'all what we got here. We grabbed ourselves a watermelon LaCroix. This is my first time tasting this flavor. I've laid off the sparkling waters for like 6 months now. I really haven't been drinking them. Y'all know last off season we were drinking them during drafts, and I figured the drafts are back. All right, let's bring the sparkling waters back. So hopefully this one's good, but okay. Josh Allen off the board. Not that good, but let's sit here and think. A couple different things. Honestly, let's go ahead. Let's pull the trigger on Kelce. I mean, if you're looking at what we have seen across the tight end position in these drafts right now, we get past round 8, and I couldn't even begin to think of what tight end we should draft. I have no freaking idea. So might as well lock up somebody that can allow us to only have to draft 2 of these guys. And then by the time that we are back up on the clock, there really won't be a quarterback that I believe has QB1 overall upside that we were able to select. So we could go Josh Allen. I like Travis Etienne a lot as well. I have Etienne ranked as a 3rd round pick. But the thing is, based off Etienne's ADP and how drafts are going currently, I think that there will be a lot of drafts that we can get Etienne in the 4th round. So might as well pass on Etienne now, live to fight another day, and get him in another draft. But yeah, so we are going to build this team a little bit differently than what we did from the past 2 drafts. So 2 days ago, our first Best Ball Mania draft, what we decided to do is we went with a heavy wide receiver approach out the gate, starting our draft with 3 wide receivers in a row. Yesterday's draft, we went with a hero wide receiver build, or like a pseudo hero wide receiver build. I think we went like Amon-Ra St. Brown round 1, maybe grabbed another wide receiver round 3, and then didn't touch the wide receiver position for quite some time. Here, we're going to spread a little of the love to every position. We're going to go Wilson, Barkley, Kelce, Hurts, going all in on this Philly offense. And hoping that Philly can be top 5 in the NFL in scoring this year. But Nick, happy to see it, says, we'll be attempting to crush you in drafts again soon. Pick 9 through 12, over 50% through the 40 big boards. Glad to see you pick here. Best Ball Mania is mine well. I called it before you, my man. Okay. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the day Best Ball Mania dropped, I said we are winning it. Now, to my knowledge, nobody else in this live stream has claimed 2nd place. So I'm happy to give it to you if you want it. You can have 2nd if you would like. First, maybe a little bit tougher to make the argument for, but Blake says, brother, hope you're good. Need help. Dynasty 2 quarterback 3 flex. We have the 101, 103. Should we go Caleb and pair up with Rome, or go double wide receiver? Hell no, do not take Rome there. I think you go Caleb, and if you really wanted a wide receiver, you go Neighbors. I understand the appeal of grabbing the Chicago stack, but not if we're having to reach a tier, which I think you would be. Okay. AJ says he'll take 3rd. Okay, you got it, my man. Chimichanga will take 156th. All right. Not going to lie, Chimichanga wins 156th. I'm thinking this is rigged. If you're calling your shot right now and you actually get that. Ooh. Derek says, should have taken Mahomes. One, Derek, I believe you're a Chiefs fan, so I understand where you're coming from. And obviously, we would get the Kelce Mahomes stack. And I will say, actually, no, I think it's a good argument to make, because if you are looking at where Kelce is going in ADP right now, Kelce's almost exclusively going at the 3-4 turn. And Mahomes is pretty much going at the 4-5 turn in the majority of these drafts. So I do think it'll be a stack that maybe is lower owned than you would naturally expect. In Best Ball Mania, I wouldn't necessarily look at the ADP and how it's set currently and say, oh, okay, yeah, we can go Mahomes and Kelce and have that stack at maybe lower ownership than it actually should be. Just because Best Ball Mania, obviously, ADPs and draft boards are going to change so much from May 1st to actually in September. But I don't know. This is a smaller draft tournament, so this should actually be closed in the next few days. So if ADPs line up like this, I think you do have a pretty strong argument to quote-unquote reach on Mahomes here at the beginning of the 4th if you would be able to get the Kelce Mahomes stack at lower ownership. Benny says, did Best Ball Mania get rid of the regular season prices? Yes, we can go over the Best Ball Mania price structure in just 1 second if you all want. I honestly really, really like the Best Ball Mania price structure with how it is this year in comparison to years past. Okay, so let's move this around. James Cook goes pick 55. I'll take a lot of James Cook if this is where he goes. Andrews goes 56. I would have taken Andrews if he would have made it to us. Was that the team that got Lamar? Oh, I love this team here. I'm not a super big fan of the Adams pick, but I mean, you're in the flat tier where it really doesn't matter too much who you're looking at. So that Vogel team, we're at wide receiver, Brown, Adams, Cup, has the Lamar Andrews stack at a very reasonable price in rounds 4 and 5 currently. I really like that build. Rachaad White goes. My monkey brain would have taken Rachaad White if he made it to us, to be honest with you. I probably shouldn't have. I mean, we maybe get saved from ourselves, but I was definitely going to take Rachaad White. Now my monkey brain's going to lock us into another running back on his rookie deal. We're going to take Kenneth Walker here. I would probably need to pair this with a wide receiver pick so we don't just get crushed later in the draft. Rice, not draftable if the report's true that he's good. And I don't want to say not draftable. Can't consider him at the 5-6 turn if he's potentially going to be missing at least half a season. Christian Kirk, you have to compete with Brian Thomas Jr. You have to compete with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, more vertical field stretcher. Maybe Kirk's going to be a wide receiver getting targets underneath. The Lawrence price point's reasonable later on, so we'll go ahead and we will take Christian Kirk. Try to balance out us taking too much Kenneth Walker here. I think maybe what happens is the guys that we've won a lot of money with in the past, I maybe get a little bit of a bias for. Like, I probably like Waddle more than I should. I probably like Kenneth Walker more than I should. I probably like Mahomes more than I should. Maybe like Jacobs more than I should. Honestly, I'm kind of off the Jacobs train at this point, but like I go Kelsey Hurts here over Jacobs. But it is interesting. Dex says, who's Brian Thomas Jr.? I don't know if you're joking, but Brian Thomas is the wide receiver at LSU that the Jags just took round 1, my friend. Raphael says, this team is nice. Well, thank you. Thank you, my friend. But Terry McLaurin off the board, 65. So that's the team that I really want to monitor that I had liked up until this point. They go McLaurin. Other options are Ridley, Brian Thomas, Kamara, Worthy, Aaron Jones. I'm probably going to be, at this price, avoiding Aaron Jones in drafts this year. I don't know if I'll come away with much Jones. Like, if Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones are going in the same round, I'll take Kenneth Walker every time. Xavier Worthy goes 67 to the Mahomes team. I don't know if I'll definitely can't hear this, but it is raining cats and dogs in Austin right now, and I am happy. We have just been in, like, I don't want to say a drought, but we've needed rain for a long time. Okay, so why does this? I have no idea. Are y'all seeing that? Why does OBS do that? We need to figure that out. Falany, happy to see you, my guy. Long time member of the vlog. Thank you so much for stopping by. Benny says, do you think they'll have another Best Ball Mania that has regular season prizes? I'd like it if they have variety. From the people I've talked to at Underdog this year, so y'all probably noticed Underdog 1 is way, way, way bigger than it used to be. But Best Ball Mania has the same prize pool. It's still a $15 million prize pool, which is the same as last year. So what they decided to do is they decided to keep the Best Ball Mania prize pool the same. That way they could have a ton of different tournaments with a ton of variety. So yes, my assumption of Underdog, the theme of this offseason with Underdog is going to be variety with these drafts and these contests. Can't guarantee that they're going to have a tournament that's just regular season prizes, but I don't know. I think that you are going to see probably a lot of different stuff. Okay. Trey Lance says, yeah, this Dallas weather is killing me. Oh, Trey. Now, you know what? I didn't think about this, but now that Trey is in Dallas, this is finally the excuse. This is finally the reason I needed to get an official office, to get an official studio. That way I can record with people in person. I can't invite Trey Lance over to the house, of course. It'd be a little too creepy. But, I mean, if I could go through and shoot Trey Lance a message and go, hey, man, I'm looking for a podcast co-host. I'll meet you halfway. I'll meet you halfway from Austin and Dallas. Tyler Bond says won $1,000 last year on the weekly winners tourney. It's nuts, my friend. Nuts. I mean, I just sadly did not come close to winning anything at all in the weekly winners tournament. Okay, JSN off the board. Let's go ahead and move this down. So far, we're sitting with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Running back, we have Barkley Walker. Wide receiver, Wilson Kirk. Tight end, we have Kelsey. I don't want to say too much until we're actually on the clock. I mean, maybe we can... I don't even want to say that. Matt, thank you so much. Says, Mason, I once again won my league last year due to your expertise and advice. Thanks for what you do and for already working to get us ready for next season. Cheers. Thank you so much, my friend, for stopping by. Really do appreciate it. And congrats on winning the league. We will go through and we'll talk about the HN hype in a second. I don't know if y'all who here followed the Dynasty channel that we have all offseason. We've been making content on the Dynasty channel all offseason, but yeah, before the draft, we were going through saying, oh, sell HN, sell HN, sell HN. I'll talk a little bit why HN does have hype to begin with. I think the hype for HN is honestly justified. Okay, so this is an awkward spot to pick in. 119. Can we get Lawrence on the way back around? Yeah, we pretty much are guaranteed Lawrence on the way back around based off how ADP is. I don't have really any interest in DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know if I'm wrong here. I mean, Hopkins, I guess, had 1,000 receiving yards last year. Felt like he didn't really do anything. So wide receiver, I believe, going into year 11 of his NFL career. I think he was drafted in 2013, unless I'm mistaken. We're going to do something so bad. I don't care, though. We're going to take Dak and Ferguson. God, why did we just do that? Well, let me try to explain myself for a second. I'll try my best to explain myself here. Nick says he didn't expect it. I didn't expect it until we actually did it, my friend. But, ooh. My thought process, oh, God dang. Who I kind of like best on the board was DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard. My thought process is Dak, let me take a step back. I think Dak's the best player on the board outside of those two running backs. We take Dak and Ferguson. There's no question we are not drafting another quarterback. We are not drafting another tight end the rest of the way. We get a stack. We get 2 Dallas-Philly games. And, of course, I'm grasping at straws. I'm trying to come up with literally anything here, my friend, to explain what we just did. Austin says, rip your wide receiver room. The thing is, what wide receiver could I have possibly taken at that pick? I agree with you. If there was a viable wide receiver there, I think the wide receiver would have made the most sense for this team. But to illustrate how bad the board was at the receiver position, after we go Dak, Ferguson, you have Swift, Bowers, Warren, Pollard, Caleb, Zamir, Mostert. You have about a 9-pick stretch before you see another receiver off the board. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens on the way back around. But, I mean, what we kind of need to do is mark where we see the fall off in tiers at the wide receiver position. And this is honestly maybe what we should have started doing 2 days ago. But let's kind of ignore the first few rounds. The first few rounds you will see are just absolutely dominated by wide receiver in almost every draft. The first round, 8 wide receivers. The second round, 8 wide receivers. The third round, you have 8 wide receivers. 8 wide receivers. So you have 24 wide receivers through the first 3 rounds. Let's try to figure out in the middle rounds where our favorite picks are. Round 4, where you have T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Tank Dell, Amari, Zay Flowers, George Pickens at wide receiver. Quarterback, you have Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud. Tight end, you have Trey McBride. Running back, you have Jacobs, Etienne. Round 4, my favorite guys here, probably the quarterbacks and running backs. Round 5, a wide receiver, you have Rome, Hollywood, Reed. Running back, you have Walker, White, Mixon, Cook, Pacheco. Quarterback, you have Mahomes. Tight end, you have Kincaid, Pitts, Andrews. I don't like the wide receivers round 5. We get to round 6. Receivers are Kirk, Addison, Terry, Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Rashee Rice. I honestly think the wide receivers in round 6 are somewhat similar to the wide receivers that you're looking at starting around the 5th round. But then after round 7, I think you see that fall off at the wide receiver position. So if we are looking at this, I think wide receivers, a pretty flat tier in rounds 2 and 3. In rounds 4 through 7, really. And then you see your fall off. This is why if you look at the site, I am probably not taking a lot of CMC this year. I'm probably just trying to grab a wide receiver round 1. I'm probably trying to grab a wide receiver in a lot of these drafts in round 3. Not in rounds 4 through 6, but maybe in round 7 if we can get like JSN with an upside gamble at a decent value. We can go in that direction. Okay. I don't know. We'll play around with it. Hopefully we can come up with something. But quarterback and tight end's not viable for us here. We just simply can't do it. Christian Watson off the board. I would have taken Watson if you had made it to us here. I don't like his ADP. ADP 85. I mean, we decided to pass on him 2 rounds ago. Here at the 9-10 turn, I think it's a completely fine pick. I am probably going to surprise people with this selection, but I really like Courtland Sutton at wide receiver 52 this year. All jokes aside, and I know we've been sarcastic about this in the past, just in case you didn't follow us in the past, Courtland Sutton's been a wide receiver that we've hated his price point for a very, very long time. I think he's been historically one of the most overrated players in fantasy. But now you get rid of Judy. Now you maybe have a quarterback here with Bo Nix that we don't necessarily know. And Sutton is cheaper than we pretty much have ever seen him. So I like this price with Sutton currently. And then outside of that, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Trey Benson. I don't know if we're just getting suckered into the rookie running back because the NFL draft just happens. We have a little bit of a rookie fever. I don't know. I like the upside of Benson. I think he's a pretty good prospect. James Conner was a very good running back in his NFL career, but at this point of his career, I'm not super, super concerned about him holding off a running back that we think has a decent talent profile. So yeah, getting Trey Benson round 10, I'm going to be fine with it. But yeah, now this is going to be a team that more likely than not, we are going to be drafting 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 2 tight ends. And does that mean we can slide in 9 receivers? I believe so. So running back so far, we have Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Trey Benson. Tight end, we have Kelsey and Ferguson. Quarterback, we have Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott. And then wide receiver, we have Garrett Wilson, Christian Kirk, Cortland Sutton. But Allen says, competing team, we have pick 3, 6, 9, 11. Would you trade the 106 and the 111 for the 104 and a future second? If this is a Superflex league, that 106 is going to be Rome. The 104 is more likely than not, say, a Drake May, Jaden Daniels. And the 111, you're looking at like Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., Keon Coleman, Lad McConkey. You're in that range of wide receiver. So I think you can make this move if you want. If it is a one quarterback league, then I'm going to be more excited about it. So I think there's a tier inside the top 4 in a 1 QB league. Okay. Now, Brian Thomas, Cole Kmet off the board. Clearly at this point, what we are wanting to see is we are wanting to see as many tight ends and quarterbacks get drafted as possible. When we have kind of overloaded on the position, taking 2 quarterbacks within the first 7 rounds, taking 2 tight ends within the first 8 rounds, it's not like we've gone so heavy into tight end that we are going to see naturally them slide up draft boards just because other people need them. It's not going to happen, but it would be fortunate if it did. Okay. Alan says, I really want Daniels and Neighbors at 3 and 4. Yeah, I think go ahead and make the move then. Okay, Singletary, Gus Edwards off 117, 118. C-Town fan says, is Rome going to be the best performing rookie wide receiver? Probably not. I mean, I think more likely it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., but of course, who knows? So I can sit here and say that's guaranteed. Justin Herbert off the board, 120. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it is very interesting to see Caleb Williams go at 90 and Justin Herbert goes 120. Jameson, 121. So yeah, if you're looking at the Jameson Williams ADP, remember this is a player that was, I believe, the highest ranked option according to ADP when we were on the clock at 108. Kind of goes to tell you that the Jameson Williams ADP is fake right now. And I want to remind y'all, while typically Underdog ADP is by far and away the best ADP that you can use in fantasy football. I mean, across the board, even in your redraft leagues, using their positional ADP will help you out a ton. Just because there's more money drafted on Underdog than pretty much anywhere else on the planet. So I think they honestly have the best ADP. Since these tournaments just dropped 2 days ago, this ADP is not super efficient. It's not like we can sit here and say, oh yeah, listen to the ADP, and if anybody falls 10 picks, you probably have to go through and take him if there's no news on him. No, I mean, the ADP is far from set here. You're going to see these players moving up dramatically and moving down dramatically as we go through the offseason. I've seen this take as well, that Rome's going to be destined to be JSN just because the offensive coordinator. I literally think it's such a stretch to say that, to be honest with you. I mean, I kind of see the parallels. You have DJ Moore, you have Keenan Allen in Seattle, you had DK, you had Lockett, you had the same offensive coordinator. But to say that Rome's going to be JSN because of that, I think it's a stretch. Not saying that Rome's going to be the wide receiver 1, but at the same time, I don't think you can say that he's destined to fail. I think he's a high upside wide receiver that's on an offense that has a lot of competition. But I expect it to be a pretty good passing offense. Jason says, feel like Lawrence should be going higher. Everything they've done this offseason is shaded towards airing it out. I am excited about the Jags offense. I think that in general, I'm going to be overweight Jacksonville this year. I think the perception's a little bit skewed on Lawrence. If y'all remember the ankle injury that he had, when it happened during the game, it seemed like most people thought Lawrence was done for the year. It seemed like Lawrence was going to be out for months. He played the next week. So I don't know. I'm not super pumped to go through and Gabe Davis 131. I definitely would have taken Davis to pair up with Kirk, but now that he is gone, I think we're probably stuck taking Brandon Cooks to get the double stack with Dak. It's obviously disgusting. You'd never do it unless it was a best ball format. And because I like the guy, I'm going to be overweight the Seattle backfield. Now you can say, Mason, this isn't going to be a great offense. Mason, I mean, you're having to take these running backs, pick 60 and 133. Typically, if one running back hits in a big time way, the other guy's going to miss. In best ball tournaments, we need to be optimizing for upside, upside, upside. My comeback to that would be, yes, you're right. I probably shouldn't do it, but I think both players are great. I think both players have role in a week-to-week perspective, and both players have the ability to be a league winner in their range of outcomes. So I'm probably going to be overweight on both guys. Should he follow me with it? No, but it's what I'm going to do. Okay. Let's see. Zach Charbonnet's the man. The Cowboys get Herbert or Johnson from Chicago. Tanner says, what are we fading the most important position for? Glory, my friend. Entertainment value. What are we talking about here? Okay, so we have Cousins, Pat, Stafford, all off. What we're needing to see. And then obviously once we take Charbonnet, now we are locked in only taking one more running back in this draft. Adam says, without the stack, would you go Palmer over Cooks? I think I am naturally going to end up with a lot of Joshua Palmer this year because I probably will get suckered into taking a lot of Justin Herbert round 10 and 11. So I don't necessarily know if I'm going to want to draft Joshua Palmer on teams where we don't have Herbert, just because I expect, like I said, I'll get suckered into being overweight on Herbert. So I don't see myself drafting a lot of Brandon Cooks, Joshua Palmer. If I don't have the stack for either wide receiver, what I'm probably doing more times than not is I'm probably taking someone like Charbonnet, or I'm probably taking Jahan Dotson, or hoping that Gabe Davis makes it to us here. Gabe Davis, another player that I've been out on for a couple of years, but last year I thought he was fine. And this year, honestly, I think now that Zay Jones is no longer in Jacksonville, obviously if Zay Jones was still there, it'd just be a very crowded room overall, but he's still in play. B says, I have a lot of Brandon Cooks. He's been a stud wide receiver too for the last 5 to 6 years, and Gallup is gone. Who else is going to get those targets in a high passing volume team? I mean, I used to love Brandon Cooks. Like, Brandon Cooks used to be, I want to say like my Twitter avatar back in like 2014, 2015 when he was on the Saints. He was drafted in 2014, but he was 20 years old at the time of the NFL draft, so he's going to be 31 this season. The thing is, Brandon Cooks had a great spot last year, right? It's not like Gallup was phenomenal, and Gallup's the reason that Brandon Cooks didn't succeed. But Brandon Cooks averaged 41 receiving yards per game, the lowest mark in his NFL career, and arguably one of the best offenses he's played in. So I don't know. It's tough. Cooks is a player that I've liked for a very long time. I just don't necessarily think you can make a strong argument for him now. I mean, he only averaged 41 receiving yards per game. He kind of got lucky with 8 touchdowns. He had a touchdown rate about 10%. Can we play a fun game here, though? Because looking at this Brandon Cooks career, I'm sure the majority of y'all will know this. I'm going to go team by team and spam the chat. How many seasons did he play for this team? So obviously, starting off in New Orleans, how many seasons did he play as a New Orleans Saint? Let's see what the chat has to say. Troy Franklin going 149. Yeah, Franklin, another one of these guys that I think the ADP is kind of fake on. Like, I'd way rather have Xavier Legette over Franklin. Okay, 6 games in New Orleans. 6 seasons in New Orleans. 3, 2, 5, 3, 2, 4, 3, 3, 2. I would have guessed it was 4. I would have guessed he played out his rookie deal and maybe got traded on the 5th-year option. Only played 3 seasons in New Orleans. All right, let's move to the next team. How many seasons did he play in New England? Played 3 in New Orleans. How many in New England? Okay, Rodgers would make a lot of sense for the stack that we have with Garrett Wilson, but obviously it's a tough spot now that we decided to take Hurts and Dak. 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, he played 1 season in New England. Let's go over to Los Angeles. How many seasons did he play for the Rams? It's crazy to see this guy's career. How many seasons did Brandon Cooks play for the Rams? 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, he played 2 seasons. And then Houston. How many seasons did he play for Houston? It'll be the last team that we do this for. Okay, so Roman Wilson, not interested. I think we can go Marvin and double down on the Denver Broncos passing attack with Sutton on this team. Maybe reach significantly on Malachi Corley, or we can take our potential last running back at the draft. We go Marvin. I'm not interested in Marshawn Lloyd. I'm not interested in Roman Wilson. Kind of like Tyler Algier, Condre Miller, to be honest with you. Adam Thielen, 1,000 receiving yards last season, 137 targets. We're gonna light a pick on fire and take Adam Thielen here. But 2, 2, 2, 4, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. He played 3 seasons in Houston. I know this sounds weird. I mean, now that I look at the Brandon Cooks season log, obviously, I mean, you remember him playing in Houston alongside Will Fuller. Like, if you'd have asked me, if I would have done that random test to myself without actually looking, I would have assumed he played longer in New Orleans. He played the same amount of years in New Orleans that he did Houston. I would not have known that. I would have guessed he would have played longer in New Orleans and less in Houston. But yeah, I guess this is a team that we need Bo Nix to come through in a big time way for us. Come on, Bo. Come on, Bo. Adam says not interested in Jacobs or Lloyd. I mean, interested, it's just, I don't know. C-Town fan says longer in New England too. I think the only reason the New England stint is memorable at all is the just nasty concussion that he took. And if y'all remember, I mean, it's kind of funny to see how fantasy football, drafters typically go through and they overrate the primetime games where you see a nasty hit and they go through and label a player as injury prone, because there was a decent stretch in the Brandon Cooks career, especially after the concussion that he had, with everybody watching, where the man just got laid out, where people are coming out saying, oh, Brandon Cooks can have a short career. Oh, Brandon Cooks is too injury prone. Oh, you can't draft Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks has played, dear God, played 148 games in his NFL career. Can you imagine? $148 games. And it's honestly kind of similar to, I think, I don't want to say, obviously head injuries. It's hard to say anything similar, but you kind of hear the same sentiment with people going through and talking Tua, right? Oh, yeah, Tua is going to have a short career. Tua is going to blah, blah, blah. But Me Muggin says, haven't been using my member chats nearly enough. How do you feel about this draft only taking one receiver through the first 5 rounds? Let's revisit, my friend. First off, happy to see you. Second off, let's go round by round, see where we could have taken a receiver and what would have potentially made more sense. The only time that I really considered a wide receiver where we did not take one inside the first 5 rounds was T. Higgins at the 3-4 turn. Say we start off with a more balanced approach. Instead of taking Jalen Hurts there, we take T. Higgins at 37. It would probably force our hand to go Joe Burrow at 61. So the ultimate question is, would you have rather had Jalen Hurts and Christian Kirk? Or T. Higgins and Joe Burrow? Would you rather have Jalen Hurts and Christian Kirk or T. Higgins and Joe Burrow? Please let me know. Outside of that, 84, 85, we can't take a wide receiver. The guys that go after are Mike Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Keon. I mean, if we really wanted to reach for Keon, maybe. If we really want to take Jordan Addison over Kenneth Walker. T. Burrow. Okay, so it looks like most people want Higgins and Burrow. Got 1 vote for Hurts. But maybe that's something we try in the next draft. Maybe that's a mistake that we made here. Okay. You have Drake May falling a considerable amount. We are running back wide receivers still in this draft right now. And I will say we're probably going to be drafting a lot more this year with only 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends in comparison to what we did last season. Because last season, we would mix in a third quarterback. We would mix in a third tight end a little more often with Best Ball Mania having the regular season prizes. But now that literally everything is slated for weeks 15, 16, and obviously primarily week 17, I think you're a little more incentivized to go slim quarterback and slim tight ends. Okay. All right. Elijah Mitchell, 178. We can throw up a hook 'em if we really want to here. I don't know if it's what we should do. Looking at the wide receivers available, though, I am happy with our decision to go wide receiver in the last 2 rounds. McCarthy off the board. Do we just go Roschon to Mario Douglas? Keep it simple. Running backs they'll be looking at the very end of the draft. They'll be at like Damian Pierce, Alexander Madison, A.J. Dillon, Miles Sanders. So, yeah, I do think that Roschon is a tier above that. I think if you're looking at Khalil Herbert, Herbert's just completely done. I mean, this Chicago Bears team decided, okay, let's draft Roschon, let's sign Deonta Foreman, and the next offseason, let's sign DeAndre Swift. They have screamed from the rooftops that they do not like Khalil Herbert. Do they like Roschon? I don't know, but I think he is the RB2 on the step chart behind Swift. And then I think we go to Mario Douglas. They bring in Osborne. They bring in Jalen Polk round 2. I mean, I don't want to sit here and act like we're super excited about DeMario, but let's pull up and see the volume that he had last year as a rookie. These guys that have no pedigree, though, and that we didn't even have on the radar as prospects, typically are players that I'm fading going into year 2. Year 1, 561 receiving yards. In classic New England fashion, 0 receiving touchdowns. Bearcher says, my hope is Khalil gets traded somewhere like Dallas later in the year. I personally think that Khalil Herbert's a good example of a running back that people in fantasy football like myself. I mean, I think the fantasy football community in general thinks that Khalil Herbert's probably a pretty good back. And if you look at how NFL people think of him, he's a nobody. I mean, we see it all the time, right? As someone has a pretty good season, so everybody in the fantasy football community, including myself, I'm not trying to act like I'm smarter than this, but we all get excited about Dameon Pierce. We all get excited about James Robinson. We all get excited about Philip Lindsay. We all get excited about Khalil Herbert when they do something good, and we think, oh yeah, just trade them, get them their opportunity. And then all of a sudden they're literally just nothing a year or two later, you know? And it's not even that coaching staff doesn't like him, because then James Robinson will go to the Giants and you go, okay, well, maybe he's going to have success there. And he doesn't even make the team. So I don't know. I kind of think if you look at what Chicago's done with Khalil Herbert, that Herbert's probably just going to be like those other running backs that in the past people have had hope for, but just really hasn't worked out. And ladies and gentlemen, we are 13 likes away from getting another draft going. So if you want to see another draft, go down there and hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Zay Jones goes 190. Matthew, please let me know, where do you think Zay Jones is landing? Matthew says, only just realizing that Ray Davis was clearly brought in to be the goal line back. Interested in his potential 10 touchdown upside, especially in best ball? Maybe. I don't know. NB says Fields will be starting by week 3. Are we talking about running backs that the NFL doesn't like as much as fantasy football players? Are we still on that topic? Obviously, I'm just kidding, my friend. But we did hit 300 likes on this live stream. So let's go ahead and let's get another draft going. Can y'all spam the chat? What do y'all want to see? Do y'all want a Best Ball Mania draft? Oh, they just got out an Eliminator draft. Is this new? When did they drop this? I guess they dropped it earlier today. They're 4,900 entrants. Spam what y'all want to see, and we will get it going for you. Whatever you want, we will do. Seatown fan says, are there any ladies in here? Are you kidding me, my man? This is a Flock Fantasy live stream. Of course there are ladies in here. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's get the Eliminator going. There are about 500 people watching this. I would assume that out of those 500, a conservative estimate, 490 of them are ladies. Conservative estimate, that is. Okay. Let me make sure that I have the Underdog app on my phone so I can make the picks in the other draft. So we are in here at 1 now. Let's go through and let's make sure that we have all the information with this Eliminator. Okay. This is a $10 buy-in, $1 million prize pool. Freaking massive for this to be a $1 million prize pool. One thing, we're going to take CeeDee Lamb 101. But yeah, let's go back to this. So $10 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, $100,000 for first, $50,000 for second, $40,000 for third, $30,000 for fourth, all the way down the line. Do they have the advancements? I'm going to open this in a different window here. Okay, we're taking Lamb. And let me make sure I have the correct information for y'all with the advancement group so I can explain what this is. Because this is a very different tournament than a typical Underdog tournament. All right, let's swing this back around to that other draft. Going to go... What's the news on... Oh, Jalen Hyatt bumps down depth chart. Ooh. Thank God we read that. Probably going to take Elijah more in that other draft. And maybe Rondale more. Yeah, we'll go Rondale. Okay, so let's read this real quick so we can make sure. It's still best ball, obviously, no time committed all during the year. So the first round, you are going to be in a 12-team league. So just like this, we're going to be going up against each other in this 12-teamer. That's going to be week 1. And at the end of week 1, the top 10 teams in that 12-person group will advance to the following round. Then in round 2, you're going to be in a 10-person group. This week 2, you're in a kind of a different league, same team, obviously, but a 10-person group, and the top 8 teams are going to make it to week 3. Week 3, 10-person group. The top 8 teams are going to make it to week 4. Week 4, 10-person group. The top 7 teams are going to make it to week 5. Week 5, 8-person group. The top 6 teams are going to make it to week 6. Week 6, 8-person group. The top 6 teams are going to make it to blah, blah, blah. So essentially, you see that every single week, the bottom team to 2 teams to maybe even 3 teams in your about 8 to 12 team league will be eliminated. So your goal is to be the last team standing. We do not want to be the worst team at any point. I don't want to be the worst team in week 1, in week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Now, this is going to cause a couple different issues. One, ladies and gentlemen, we do not know the bye weeks. If you only draft 2 quarterbacks, say we draft Drake May and Josh Allen, and then all of a sudden Buffalo and Washington have the same bye week, we are getting 0 points for the quarterback position, and we're probably toast that week. So if you're drafting in a little eliminator draft right now, what my monkey brain's telling me, obviously I could be wrong here. It's not like I won any eliminator drafts last season, so I don't know why you would listen to me. But you probably want to be taking 3 quarterbacks. Depending on the value, 3 tight ends may be viable as well. So in that last draft, we went through and we took as many wide receivers as we possibly could, because the only thing that really mattered is upside in weeks 15, 16, 17. So we went slim at quarterback, slim at tight ends, pretty slim at running back, and then we just went quantity over quality wide receiver. Here it may be a little bit different, where you probably want to draft the extra quarterback. You probably want to draft the extra running back, and maybe grabbing the extra 2 wide receivers at the end of your draft. That doesn't matter too much. But hopefully we explained that correctly. But we got Nice and Blunt in here at 9. We got Lazy Ass in here at 12. Ty in here at 7. Antler Ice in here at 8. We got Jose in here with us at 10. Thank you so much. And April, happy to see you out with us this season again. I really do appreciate it. Leonel says, do you believe the 101 curse exists? Jefferson, JT, CMC, etc. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that you have a wide range of outcomes with everybody. And even though someone can be the consensus 101, it doesn't mean that they are likely to be the number 1 overall scorer. Because, I mean, if you view, say, fantasy football overall, and you're taking a player at pick 1, their probability to be the best fantasy football asset that season may only be 10% compared to the rest of the fields. But even if that probability is 10%, they could still be the best pick for you there. Don't know if we're explaining that well, but just think about it. If the number 1 guy's 10% likely to be the number 1 overall player in fantasy, and then the number 2 guy's 9%, the number 3 guy's 8%, the number 4 guy's 7%, you're going to run out of possibilities very, very quickly. Of course, when you have the entire field where we have seen guys a couple years ago, like a Cooper Kupp coming from round 4 to be the best overall fantasy asset. So you naturally assume, oh yeah, the guy that goes at 1 should be the best player in fantasy. And maybe he's more likely than anybody else to be the best option, but he could still be very, very, very unlikely to be the best, if that makes sense. So I don't necessarily think that there's a 101 curse by any means. I think maybe people just have unrealistic expectations of what should happen with someone they take at 1. Okay. T-Bone went CMC round 1. Let's see what they decide to do here. And another thing is stacking may not be as advantageous in a league like this, because if you're stacking bye weeks on the same team, you're going to have massive spikes, but you may have low lows as well. So I don't exactly know how to approach this. I think my plan for the time being is let's go through and let's build a well-rounded team. Let's build a balanced team overall. So we'll take Achane and Debo here and see how this turns out. Okay. And of course, if you have not done so already, hit that like button. And if you want to get into our next draft, whether that's tonight, tomorrow, the next day, we're streaming every single day. These are underdog drafts, no time commitment at all during the season. It's how we draft hundreds of teams every offseason. How we won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. Sadly, did not win any tournaments last season. But yeah, you can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat. Code FLOCK will hook you up with a 100% deposit match, plus access to flockfantasy.com. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be getting a special NBA pick'em. I believe the next special NBA pick'em that you have to use code FLOCK is Luka Doncic. More than less than half a total point. It's just going to depend on whatever day you sign up. Whatever the big NBA game is that night. Serge says, thoughts on Achane and Dynasty. Should I buy it? We actually did not talk about Achane when someone asked about him earlier, asking what the Achane hype was. So let me fill you in on my Achane take, just in case you haven't heard it already. We had a video before the NFL draft saying to sell Achane, to sell Achane, to sell Achane. Back then, if you look at these underdog drafts, he was going at the beginning to the middle of round 2. It was more expensive than the 2-3 turn. 2-3 turn, I think, is a little more reasonable. But essentially, why we are saying, well, let's cover 2 things. One, where's the HN hype coming from? Why are people excited about this player in general? Because obviously, people are smart. They're not going to go through and hype up a player like crazy that is a certified bum. That's not going to happen. I mean, the people are hyping up Devon Achane, and people are excited about Achane. This is a running back that last year was the most efficient running back that we have seen in a decade. If you look at his breakaway run rate, if you look at his yards per carry, if you look at just the explosive plays that he had, Achane was truly one of the most dynamic players in the NFL last season. Now, why I was saying to sell him and why I'm still probably not going to draft a lot of Achane, to be honest with you, is one, if you look at the historical data, you have 2 other running backs that were as small as Devon Achane since the year 2000 to have running back 1 seasons. And if you look at how they had RB1 seasons, it wasn't based off some crazy level of efficiency. It was based off, they were very good pass catchers. They were going out, and it was someone like Tariq Cohen, right? Tiny running back, but you draw 100-something targets, and you have 90 receptions in a season, and you're not really playing the running back position, but you have a running back tag in fantasy in a full PPR format, you get there. So really, historically speaking, that's been the only mold that we've ever seen a running back be an RB1 in fantasy at Devon Achane's size. Now, Achane was able to do it last year just because how efficient he truly was, but we know more times than not that efficiency is going to come back down to earth in fantasy football. So I think that you have size concerns with Achane that I don't think the volume is going to be able to increase enough this next season to outweigh the loss of efficiency that you may have in Miami. So I know I draft Achane here at 24. So, I mean, maybe it's not a good time for me to say I'm not a big fan, but hopefully that gives you a decent sense of why some people may be excited, why some people, including myself, may be very worried. And yeah, for the love of God, never be taking Achane over Saquon Taylor. But I will be okay if you want to take him over Jacobs, Henry, Etienne. Okay, we need to get the fan going, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but Chris says, after the Chargers shocked the world and signed Jefferson next offseason, the Herbert stack's going to feed families. I can dream right. Hyped out the stream back. Let's get it. My man, thank you so much for stopping by. And Can you imagine Herbert and Jefferson together? Would be nuts. Would be nuts. Okay. So, like I said, this is the Eliminator draft, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to change the way that we want to construct our teams just a bit here. Stacks won't be as advantageous as they are in underdog tournament and other underdog tournaments. We probably want to be going with the extra quarterback. We don't want to be going as slim at QB and at tight ends. And we don't need the extra wide receiver in this draft. We're typically in another underdog draft you would. Okay, Kelsey goes 45. I mean, I would have for sure been dumb enough to take Kelsey Mahomes at 48, 49. So team maybe saves us from ourselves. So T-Bond on the clock has Allen, CMC, Waddle. So you assume, I mean, I don't say too much, but I was assuming they weren't going to go quarterback, which they don't. Now, I'm going to take Tank Dell. I do not know the right thing to do with this Eliminator draft. Please spam the chat. Do we want to go CJ Stroud, grab the Tank Dell CJ Stroud stack, have a little more volatility through the season, which is something we want to avoid in the Eliminator drafts, but we can still make the season-long bet that the Houston Texans are a great offense, that both these guys hit in a vacuum? Or do we maybe want to take a more balanced approach and grab Rachaad White? If it was a typical underdog draft and not the Eliminator, I'm going Dell Stroud, not even thinking about it twice. I don't know what to do in this one, though. Okay. So we got White, no Dell. No stack. Okay, so balanced White. I'm listening to y'all. Okay, now I can tell you what's going to happen right now. Someone is going to take this out of context. They're going to grab this draft board, throw it everywhere, saying, look at this clown. He doesn't even know you're supposed to stack Tank Dell and CJ Stroud. I'm telling you that's going to happen. Just heads up. But the people who are actually here know the reasoning. The people who are actually here can back us up just a bit. Okay. So McBride goes 52. So that team at 4 is going with the bully tight end strategy, which, I mean, I'd really like Kelsey 45, McBride 52 if it was a regular underdog tournament. I don't know about the Eliminator, but I don't know in general. I could be wrong. Okay. And Kenneth Walker 51. So saving us from ourselves yet again, where we are not going to be able to go through and we are not going to have another draft where we take Walker. Raphael says he's at 3. What are our thoughts? Okay. Let's pull this up. Chase Evans DK. I really do not like the DK pick. I mean, this is a player take, which player takes obviously are so much less important than overall structure and strategy takes, but where I'm sitting with DK is this is a wide receiver that if you look over the past 3 years, he's pretty much averaged the wide receiver 25 finish. It's not like his situation this next season should be any better than what it's been over the past 3 seasons. So if we're looking at Metcalf, I think this is someone that because he is built like an absolute freak, I mean, this guy is built like Mason Dodd. People just assume that he has a crap ton of upside. People just assume that he can be that top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Or if you look over the past 3 seasons, he's averaged like the wide receiver 25 finish. So I probably would rather go like Nico Collins. I'd rather go like Devonta Smith. I'd rather go DJ Moore. I mean, these are wide receivers that are, at least in the case of Smith and Collins, younger than DK Metcalf, have recently been better than DK Metcalf. And outside of that, I don't necessarily disagree with anything. I mean, I think from a construction perspective, if it's a regular underdog draft like Best Ball Mania, I'm probably a little more likely to take a quarterback, take a tight ends early. And in these Eliminator drafts, agree with the sentiment that we probably instead want to be going with wide receivers, running backs early so we can take 3 QBs, so we can take 3 tight ends. Leonel says, I like Keon Coleman over Malik Neighbors in fantasy this year. Dear God, my friend. Crazy. Angelo says, maybe even ETN over Metcalf. I'll pull up my rankings on flogfantasy.com for you right now, my friend. And I will show you. I would not be surprised at all if I had ETN over Metcalf. Yeah, I have ETN over DK Metcalf. I am probably too aggressive when it comes to ETN. I'm expecting, maybe I'm just hoping that we get a bounce back from Jacksonville. ETN's 3 down back on his rookie contract. So I don't know. I'm excited. Caboose says, what are you looking to do at the turn here? I'm not going to say until we are on the clock, my friend. We got some people in front of us that are in this live stream. Okay, so. I will say something too after we make this next selection. Kamara goes 67. Yeah, there's something that I think is important here that I just don't want to say until we're on the clock. Kittle goes 68. I mean, there's a lot you can talk about with these Eliminator drafts. Just thinking about how different this is from a regular fantasy football league, kind of have to take whatever strategy you have and throw it out the window. Is this team on auto? They may be. Yeah, every pick they've made has been the guy at the top of ADP. I think this team's on auto draft. Which is an important note. Okay, Allen, CMC, Waddle, Amari, and Kincaid. So they go Aaron Jones. We're going to take Jordan Addison, and I think Joe Burrow. So what I wanted to talk about 2 different things. One, in the Eliminator drafts, obviously we talked about stacking and how it may not necessarily be as important to build in that correlation as it is in other leagues. But 2, if we are looking at player takes here, I think if you are looking at the rookies in the Eliminator drafts, you should be putting them at a discount. The reasons why, obviously, you should love rookies in your regular fantasy football league where we're trying to optimize for the fantasy football playoffs, where we are trying to get a high upside players for weeks 15, 16, 17 is, yeah, they may start off slow, but these are players that should continue to get better as the season progresses. And we can be really excited about where they potentially are in the final 3-week stretch. But here in the Eliminator drafts, the early weeks really matter, right? It's not like we can punt the early weeks and then just get ready for the end of the season. It's not going to work that way. The second thing that we need to focus in on is, in that similar light, a strategy that I want to say is the most popular strategy in these underdog tournaments. By far, the most popular strategy you're going to see is a 0 RB build. And it makes sense. The reason being is if you can hit on a few of those key running backs that break out later in the season, those guys for weeks 15, 16, 17, and you are just absolutely dominant at wide receiver, it's going to be hard for other teams to match the upside that you have in weeks 15, 16, 17. But a big reason why 0 RB works in a regular draft is the beginning of the season doesn't matter too much. If you're getting a crap production from your running back core weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, you shouldn't let the season play out until you can have hopefully some breakouts in the middle rounds. But 0 RB in a less balanced team is probably going to be a little bit tougher to pull off, at least in my mind, in a league like this, where even if you were able to hit on that massive RB breakout in week 6, and then all of a sudden, I mean, you have Kenneth Walker from 2 years ago carrying you through the rest of the way. No, it's going to be tough. Okay. Safety Net says liking Tyrone's team so far. Where is that at? Okay, pick 11. Let's check this out. Wilson, Brown, Etienne, Cook, Richardson, Rice. I hate the Rice pick. Going back to what we were talking about again, maybe in Best Ball Mania, you can like Rice if we're optimizing for weeks 15, 16, 17. Here, the suspended players are way scarier. The suspended guys, the guys that have injuries at the beginning of the year, those are players that I'm just simply not drafting anywhere close to their ADP. So, yeah, I mean, I like the team outside of that, but in my mind, really hard to justify the Rice pick in this format, unless you just think he's not going to get suspended. And if he doesn't get suspended, obviously it is what it is. And if you wanted to take that risk in Best Ball Mania, you do you. I mean, I think it makes sense there, but. Okay, Zamir White goes 84. Caleb goes 85. I mean, the Caleb ADP looks so damn aggressive until you think, oh, okay, either Caleb has to hit in a big time way. Like if this Bears off, let's say hypothetically, this Bears offense disappoints. Who is going to be the worst fantasy pick? DJ Moore in round 3. DJ Moore pick 30. Rome pick 37, Keenan Allen 39, or Caleb Williams 85. If this Bears offense disappoints, I think the teams that are taking DJ Moore, Rome, Keenan in round 3, they're going to have way bigger issues than whoever's taking Caleb Williams in round 8. So like the Caleb Williams price is, it looks aggressive on paper for a rookie quarterback to be going there, but you look at his weapons and you look at the fact that Caleb has rushing upside. Got to either say, okay, well, I mean, if this offense is worse than expected, I don't know if Caleb's the guy that's massively disappointing. Karen Flex says, I'm sorry, but James Palmer has no idea if Rice is getting suspended. That's not a quote-unquote report. I mean, honestly, regardless of the report today. I would kind of lean with you that I agree that I don't necessarily know how valuable that is to go off of. Did this team take a third tight end? Okay, no. That David Njoku, George Kittle team. I thought that was the team that had Kelsey and someone else. James Conner goes. I was really hoping we were going to get Tony Pollard or DeAndre Swift this pick. I think maybe we go Jalen Warren. I would for sure go Raheem Mostert. I mean, he had 18 touchdowns last year if it wasn't for Xavier Wright being drafted to Miami. And also Mostert being a 33-year-old RB. Yeah. We're going to go Mostert despite Jalen Wright being there. I mean, I guess maybe this is the team that we bet that Jalen Wright's not going to have a role this season. And we have the combo of Mostert, Achane. We center prepare that Miami can be at the top of the NFL in rushing like they were last season. So this is what we call chasing points, ladies and gentlemen. Sadly, I was not smart enough to capture the Miami running back points last year. So we are going to be paying a higher price this season when they will probably be less productive this season. So, I do not know. I do not know. I agree. Mostert's probably too old. He's ancient. And I probably would not recommend drafting him. Now, of course, I said the same thing last year, and he scored 18 touchdowns. How old is he? Is he 32 or 33? $32 old. Dear God. Dear God. I mean, the good news for Mostert, though, if you want to try to stretch and have something here, is let's pull up the contract he got. Spotrac. Will Spotrac load for me? For whatever reason, the site hasn't been working. John says, I mean, how many carries does Mostert actually have in his career? It's not a good selling point to say, oh, the old running back's going to be able to be good still, because instead of having a healthy career where he racked up a ton of carries, he was hurt the entire time. So, I don't know. I see the Mostert argument saying, okay, he doesn't have the tread on the... He hasn't been worked through his entire career, but the reason was he was hurt. I don't know if we want to make an argument because he was hurt, he's a better pick. Yes, 32 is ancient for a running back. We actually just put out I don't want to say we just put it out, maybe a month ago, put out an in-depth video breaking down age and how it impacts the running back position in fantasy on the Dynasty channel, that is. And we've never seen a running back at 32 put up 18 points per game or more. It just says, thoughts on Jay Cook, Waller, Chubb, all feel like steals. Darren Waller, I believe, is going to be retired, my friend. Unless I'm mistaken, Waller's retired, so I don't want to call him a steal. Nick Chubb, I think, is a very fair price point now that Cleveland doesn't go through and take a running back in the draft. I will say specifically in the Eliminator drafts where Chubb probably starts slow this season from his injury last year. I don't know if we are super excited about Chubb in the Eliminator. In Best Ball Mania, I think we took him 2 days ago, like his price. And James Cook, honestly, I like his price as well. I understand they go through and they add in a running back day 3, but if you look at the depth chart that they had Buffalo, I mean, they kind of had to add someone. Okay. Surround Goff goes 111. Godzilla says, I love the Mostert pick. I have 64% of him. Achan's fragile. Wright will replace Achan. Well, appreciate you, my friend. I hope you're right for this draft in particular. But I maybe hope you're wrong in general because I don't know how much I want to be drafting Mostert this year. I don't know if it's something I want to do. So yeah, now quarterback, we have an unstacked Burrow. Obviously, we wouldn't do it in a regular underdog draft here. I think it may be a little bit different. Running back, we have Achan, White, Warren, Mostert. Receiver, we have Lamb, Debo, Dell, Addison. Benson goes 117. I probably would have got suckered into Benson here. This is a nuts team. This is a team that I don't think understands what an eliminator draft is. I think it would be a very interesting Best Ball Mania team. What is this team going to give us? They go Shakir. Okay, I'm going to just stay balanced. We're going to take Dobbs and Brian Robinson. Hawkinson, I would like in a Best Ball Mania build, but in the Eliminator draft, where we are trying to optimize for the beginning of the season, I think Hawkinson, again, being one of these injured players, will be someone I'm less excited about in general. So let's go Brian Robinson to lock in some gross RB volume, and Romeo Dobbs to continue to build that out as well. But yeah, I mean, I love Hawkinson, the player. Absolutely love Hawkinson. It's just in this format, I don't know if we can take him. Okay, so now wide receiver, we have Lamb, Debo, Dell, Addison, Dobbs. Running back, we have Achane, White, Warren, Mostert, Ryan Robinson. So we're chasing the Miami points. We have an unstacked Burrow. And the thought process here, maybe having like an unstacked Burrow, is say the majority of teams in the Eliminator stack Burrow and Chase, stack Burrow and Higgins. And the Bengals have an absolute horrid 2-3 stretches of weeks. We can get by with a CeeDee Lamb, right? And then maybe another quarterback covering that time period. And you could see all the Chase Burrow teams get knocked off. So I don't know. I could see the argument and still wanting to correlate your players in the Eliminator tournaments, saying, okay, well, you still want to make the one consolidated bet that they're going to exceed season-long expectations. And I could see the argument on the other end saying we probably want to limit week-to-week volatility where we can. So I don't know what the right answer is. Godzilla says, have you watched? You're going to hate me for this. I have not. But. I am biking like how many hours a week now? I'm biking like 12 hours a week at this point. Maybe not 12. How many am I biking? 11? Biking 11, 12 hours a week at this point. So I have a 3-hour bike ride that we have to do on the trainer on Thursday. I will, for the love of God, I hope I remember to watch Rudy. Jason, happy to see you, says, Money Mace, it's almost that time of year again. Keep crushing it and smash the likes. People appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much, my friend. Happy to see you. And yes, if you have any movie recommendations, I need to just come up with a list. Because whenever I'm on that bike, the hardest part of my day is pretty much finding whatever movie we're going to watch. Because I'm too sweaty to be drafting underdog teams then. We got Rudy on our list. If you have a movie recommendation, preferably something that's motivating, a little bit fast, slow movies are tough to keep the attention on the bike, that is. Let me know in the live chat. I'm happy to accept whatever movie recommendations you have. Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at Brian Robinson versus Eckler, I think this is the best way to put it. Eckler getting paid like a third down bag. If you look at the Austin Eckler contract, like Tony Pollard's getting paid way more. DeAndre Swift's getting paid way more. If Washington brought in Eckler on some like massive deal, I would be a lot more concerned. But one, Washington is not a super desirable team to go to. Two, the money wasn't really there. So I think the NFL is kind of telling us that Eckler's washed up and that we don't need to be super concerned about Eckler. I mean, it's not like this is super surprising news by any means. If you go and look at his ADP, it's not like people are drafting him a ton. Okay. Winston says 6 picks left and you still need 2 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends. Yes, which is kind of the spot that we want to be in the Eliminator draft. So I want to be taking 3 QBs and 3 tight ends in the later rounds a lot here. Whereas in the drafts where we're going to be slimmer at quarterback and tight end, the Best Ball Mania drafts, we're going to be getting our quarterbacks and tight ends a little earlier. Devin says, I'm at the 609 in a Superflex Dynasty League. For the love of God, do not be taking Pollard Swift, Chubb, Eckler, Derrick Henry over Jonathan Brooks, my friend. Literally, go to flockfantasy.com. Even if you're not a paid member, pull up the community rankings. It'll give you a much better idea of what to do. They're free. Use that in your startup if that's the question you have. They'll be able to help you a ton. Okay. Baker goes 142. Let's see what we're going to have later on. Stafford off the board. I think we're going to go Dotson. I think we go Dotson and Rodgers. Naeem says movie, Facing the Giants. Okay, writing this down. Dave says the new Roadhouse. Did anybody... I didn't talk to anybody who actually watched it. I heard on a podcast, though, that the new Roadhouse was horrible. So I was like, oh, okay. I was interested because you had Conor McGregor in it. Then I was like, is the new Roadhouse any good? Let me know in the chat. And second thing is, too, and this is what I really want to know, if we're asking for suggestions, what's easiest for me to watch like on the bike is documentaries. If y'all have any good documentaries, I would love to watch them. I have Amazon Prime, I have Hulu, I have Netflix, I have HBO. I don't think I have anything else though. Dave says it's not that bad. CB says it's entertaining, fun to watch. I've never seen the original Roadhouse. Okay, I'm gonna write down Roadhouse. That'll be like a C list tier for me though. Okay. 3 Identical Strangers. Is this a documentary or is this a movie? Identical Strangers. The Aaron Hernandez documentary. I've seen it on that. I mean, I've seen like the cover of it. I've never watched it. Aaron Hernandez. For whatever reason, I can't figure out how to spell Hernandez. Adam Andre. I watch a lot of YouTube documentaries, to be honest. I've been watching like a lot of Ultra Marathon documentaries, and then Iron Man documentaries, of course. Baby Reindeer. I see that Netflix is pushing it a ton. I didn't know it was a documentary. What is it? I've seen that's like the number one thing that Netflix is pushing. I know everybody who's here to watch a fantasy draft is asking why we're talking about Baby Reindeer. Baby Reindeer, what is this? Dealing with the female stalker, a man is forced to face a dark berry drama. Is it a true story? Surprise hit Netflix series is based on comedian Richard Gadd's real life experience with the dangerous stalker. This honestly will probably hit pretty close to home. Because the Flockettes, the lady flockers, I'm telling you, God, got some crazy stalkers. Obviously joking. Nobody cares about me. Free Solo. I think I've seen Free Solo. Bullet Train. Is this like the thing where they're in like, it's like an Asian thing with Brad Pitt? It's like a kind of styled like an Asian train movie, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. I'm probably being an idiot. Okay, Marvin Mims, Darnell Mooney, both off the board. We don't need another wide receiver here. I mean, maybe at some point again in this draft. What we are really looking for, obviously, is we still need another QB and we need another tight end. You got to be open-minded to watch it. I don't know what you're talking about here. What do you have to be open-minded to watch? Bullet Train? Drake May goes 162. I'm probably a little less excited about May than I would be just grabbing a different quarterback that I think we can see early season points from, like Watson. Marshawn Lloyd goes 163. Chubb-Ford combo in the Eliminators move. I mean, I think if you're looking at the Cleveland backfield, with how reasonably they are priced currently, yeah, I'm not going to fault anybody at all for wanting to double tap Chubb-Ford. Documentary Crumb. Okay, we're going to watch this. We're going to put that down. Okay, J.K. Dobbins off the board. I think we're going to go ahead and maybe reach on Geno here. So we get some gross quarterback points. And then we have 4 rounds left. Probably want to look at running back tight end. I think you could make the argument take 4 tight ends, to be honest. No, not where we take 3 quarterbacks. You can't take 4 tight ends. Tyler Algiers is so much of a better pick. Gibson has a role from week to week perspective. Honestly, our running back room in an eliminator, I don't think is good enough not to take another RB. And maybe that's my mistake. If I get to this point with how many running backs we've drafted, and I think our RB core is not good enough to stop drafting them, that just means I have no business ever drafting Devon Achane again. So yeah, we cannot take him again. This is just so much tougher to think through than a regular underdog draft. In an eliminator, CMC, Josh Allen, Laporta, James Cook, Keenan, Addison, Godwin, Njoku, Keon, Myers, Shaheed to start. I mean, I love this team in general. The only thing is, 1, getting through the Bills bye week, and 2, getting through any disappointing Bills weeks. Like, if this was like a regular underdog draft, I would be all about it. And honestly, after seeing this start, I think I'll probably be drafting this team a lot, Russell, in like a Best Ball Mania draft, reaching on Laporta and Josh Allen at the 2-3 turn. Actually, I don't even know how you got that. How did you get Keenan on this team? CMC round 1. I'm assuming Josh Allen round 2, Laporta round 3, Keenan round 4, I guess. Yeah. I think I'd really like that in Best Ball Mania. I'm probably going to now, after seeing you do that, maybe decide to reach on an elite quarterback and elite tight end 2-3 turn. But it is almost 10. It just stopped raining, so I'm going to need to go walk the dog, ladies and gentlemen. I will see y'all tomorrow. Appreciate you, of course. And as always, if you want to get in a draft with us tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day or the next day, Underdog Fantasy, link in the description, link in the comment section, link in the live chat. Code FLOCK, we get hooked up with a 100% deposit match, access to flockfantasy.com, and at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a special NBA pick'em. I think the special NBA pick'em for tomorrow is going to be Luka Doncic, more than less than half a total point. It just depends on the day that you sign up with code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. But yeah, thank you again. Really do appreciate y'all. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.